Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm back over here with D, and we got so I got three stories today. How about you?
I got two.
Two. All right. So we got I guess I'll go ahead and go first. I'll say my three stories. You do give your two stories. So
Sounds good.
this first story is the story of the grandmas in the cemetery. Jeff, a resident of Dayton, Ohio, was driving with his 3-year-old son Miles in the back seat when they passed by a modest cemetery decorated with only flowers and small plaques. It basically looks like a giant garden, Jeff explains on a podcast. Monsters Among Us. According to Jeff, as they drove by his toddler, who'd been happily singing abruptly, stopped, pointed at the cemetery, and exclaimed, "Look at all those people." Jeff turned to look, but didn't see a soul. Confused, he asked Miles what he was talking about. "All those people over there," his son replied. "There sure are a lot of grandmas." As Jeff tells it, chills ran down his spine as he asked his son what the people were doing. "They're all standing there looking down at the grass," Miles said. Completely unsettled by the conversation, Jeff sped up and drove home. Later that same day, he says his young son was watching TV when he turned to Jeff and said, "You know they weren't alive." Thinking Miles was referring to the cartoon, Jeff asked what he meant. "Those people we saw they were all paused," his son replied. "I don't know if my kid was has the sixth sense," Jeff says, "or if he just has a wild imagination." So that one was
That's cool.
expected that because that was a little trippy. Especially just because it proves a lot of things I hear about kids seeing shit that adults don't see.
Very true. Well, you got to think about like what animals see versus what we see as
Yeah,
humans.
and like
Is
that, I even see about how cats will sit there and stare at a wall, and they could be staring at a ghost or something like that,
sure.
and where we might not see it, but the cat or the dog will be barking at something that we don't see.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. You got to think about like they say we got angels always around us. Family members that have
Yeah,
gone past. Uh, and we can't see them, but certain things will happen. Like I had a situation one time where right shortly after my grandfather passed, um, and I wasn't thinking anything of it, and I happened to be walking. I was walking to the store, and as I got out of the vehicle, um, this there was nothing on the ground. And so I went inside, I got my groceries, and I come back out, and right by where my door was a little white feather right on the ground, to where you couldn't miss it. I mean, and it was like, you know, uh, one of those things where you kind of look around, you're looking for birds. I saw blackbirds flying around. I didn't see any kind of white bird, but this was a single white feather right there, like somebody placed it right there on my freaking on the ground where
yeah,
I went to put my key in, and but probably 3 days prior to that was when my grandfather passed, and I was so distraught, so upset. And then when I went into the store, I had what's weird about it was I was thinking about him, and I literally was talking to myself in my head to him
yeah.
how I wish he was still around. And then to come back to my truck and that feather being on the ground right there, which wasn't there when I went into the store. I mean, you want to talk about goosebumps? That was crazy. That
Yeah.
was that was that was wild. That was wild.
And then okay, so now on to the next story. The ghost of the Stanley Hotel. The ghost of the Stanley Hotel, which is supposed to be about the Shining's I forgot the name of that hotel, but it's supposed to be that's supposed to be where they actually filmed the Shining movie, and I think they just
Oh,
renamed
nice.
it. But yeah, so this is the Ghost of Stanley Hotel, the real life Stanley Hotel. The Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, has been around for more than 100 years and was built as a posh getaway for the wealthy seeking solitude in the mountains. As the years passed, however, occupancy declined, and by the 1970s, the Grand Hotel had fallen into disrepair. It was around that time that famed author Stephen King spent the night there and was inspired to write the book The Shining. The book and blockbuster film helped return the Stanley to its former glory. Now, guests come in droves to see the hotel that inspired one of the scariest horror movies of all time. Given its history, it should come as no surprise that many visitors report strange happenings aware of the ghostly rumors. Texas resident Henry Yao booked a last-minute getaway in April of 2016 to check it out. After arriving, Yao had dinner, then wandered around the Stanley to take photos. Stopping at the staircase, he waited for people to clear the area, then took a picture thinking nothing of it. Later that night, however, Yao fell seriously ill. I, I felt really sick. I had the shivers. I was like, something's really wrong. He tells Today.com. His company suggested he go to the emergency room, but Yao refused. On the trip home, Yao began swiping through the photos he'd taken when he discovered what he said was a really strange image of someone standing on stairs. Except no one had been there. The next day, he posted the photo on Instagram, half joking that he captured a ghost, and the world took notice. Almost overnight, Yao found himself in the limelight with the ghost picture, warranting attention from global media outlets and paranormal experts who wanted to examine the photo. Some experts say there's two ghosts, and other people said that the reason I got sick is because the ghost was trying to materialize, taking energy out of me. He said there's so many theories about this, and what does Yao think? What does Yao think? I have no idea, he says with a laugh. And then I have one more story about that. Jim Carrey.
Yeah, I've watched that The Shining with,
So,
several times. That was a
uh,
pretty wild
then
movie
here's this.
back in the day because it didn't have
So,
the graphics or the
yeah,
technology that today has. Like look at the movie Final Destination. Final Destination from the one to now, I think there's like five, something like that, or yeah, four or five. The whole intensity of that they can create now, that is, it makes you feel like it's real, even though it's a movie. The graphics, the ghosts, the whole nine yards.
yeah.
It's just wild, just wild.
So here's the second story, or a second portion of that story. But Jim Carrey famously experienced a terrifying encounter with the room while staying in room 217 of the Stanley Hotel, which served as the inspiration for the Overlook Hotel in Stephen King, The Shining. Carrey, while filming Dumb and Dumber there, reportedly left the room within 3 hours, never returning to the hotel. The story of his brief stay is part of the hotel's lore, adding to his reputation as a haunted location. The haunted room 217, is known for its ghostly occurrences, including the tragic accident that inspired King's nightmare in the novel. The Stanley Hotel was the inspiration for the Overlook in The Shining. Carrey's experience in room 217 was reportedly so frightening that he requested to be moved to another hotel immediately. The Stanley Hotel was also used as a filming location for the Shining TV minute, miniseries. The hotel's reputation as a haunted location continues to attract paranormal investigations and ghost hunters.
Hmm. That's crazy. And you know that that's
Yeah,
110% true. If Jim Carrey, of all people, turns around and says, I'm not staying here. Put me in
yeah.
another hotel. Yeah, that's a scary situation.
Especially that room
You know,
217. I'm wondering if that is. I think that's the room that is Stephen King put in the movie. That's supposed to be the room where that lady in the bathtub was, maybe. So
uh,
I'm wondering what actually is up with that room in that hotel.
mm. There was a
I'm
there
trying
was
to
a
like,
time, I think this was a couple weeks ago,
yeah,
and I've got different people that have my grandma, my grandpa, all this stuff. And every now and then, like I said, I'll feel their presence. But I have a girlfriend that I I know for a fact that her mama has been around us here and there. And I remember I was in the bathroom. I was brushing my teeth, and I went with my left hand. I took the cap off the toothpaste, and I went to do the toothpaste on the toothbrush, but the cap went and fell, and it literally fell off the counter. Okay, here's the counter, and it literally
yeah,
on my left side was in motion. Okay, and it almost was down to about my hip, and I looked down. And I was figuring, screw it, I'll pick it up here in a minute. And I went back to start to brush my teeth. I swear, man, as the Lord is my witness, that cap did not hit the floor. It ended up on the right side of me, like somebody grabbed it from behind me and swung it around my back and threw it up on the right side of the sink. My freaking arm, my hairs were stuck up so big, back of my neck. I was like, I got out of that bathroom so quick. And my girlfriend, she's like, it was probably my mama. It was probably my mama just trying to, to, to help you out and all that. And I was like, yeah, I don't need her doing that. She needs to stay the heck out of the bathroom. If that's her, I don't need her in here with me. I don't need help brushing my teeth. But I'm telling you, that was one where I was like, okay, I know for a fact there's something out there. There's something. That was scary. That was scary.
yeah. Some such thing is what makes me think that we need to we need to make a group just to go hunting places. It's
Oh, you
it,
mean like ghost hunt?
yeah.
Hell, man, I'll tell you what. You
Call
want to
it
go scary friggin' hunting? We
Todd
go out.
paranormal hunting.
We'll go snipe hunting. I'll take you out snipe hunting. We'll go out and do some snipe. No, I'm just kidding with you. There is such a thing as a snipe. It's a type of a bird, but they back when I was y'all's age,
Yeah,
we used to get put on the camping trips. We used to get told, "Hey, come on, take a pillowcase and a flashlight," and all it was, you're out there, got the flashlight there, whistling, here, snipe, here, snipe, snipe. Total BS. Total BS. But while you're sitting out there, you're thinking about other things that could come around, and
yeah,
at my age, when I was your age, that was the first thing. I'm thinking Sasquatch. I'm thinking, alligators. I was thinking freaking, a panther or something like that coming at me while I'm sitting out here waiting for a stupid fucking bird. Just crazy, crazy stuff. Yeah, that's what we need to do. We need to go and go find an adventure, and there's plenty of hollers around, man. These haunted hollers to go and just like the ghost hunters, man. There's some that they get into, and they get down to these old caves, and
yeah,
just you're down there in the middle of freaking nowhere, and all of a sudden, freaking rocks freaking fall or get thrown intentionally. People go, "Oh yeah, no, 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 that's just a rock that came loose." man, this is a cave that probably has never made sound in years and has been known for being haunted of those that had fallen into the cave. Like myself, I used to work at the Moaning Caverns out in California, and I did tours. Sorry about it. Hey, hush! I did. I was. Excuse me. I was a tour guide, and literally we used to take people down into the caverns. But the story was from the very top of the cavern down to the lower section was about the size of the Statue of Liberty. And the way the cavern was, or is, I should say, water droplets would go down and they would hit into the calcite and dig a hole, and then eventually it became like a ceramic water bottle. And so as the water would drop and go into these small little holes and drop in there, the bottom of this thing would be out like this. So as it came in and it hit that little water that was in there, it would make a sound. Well, as it made that sound would come out, and the way the cavern went, it went from small like this and went up like this. So it was like a megaphone.
Yeah.
So that sound would echo and it would go up into the opening of the cavern. And the Indians and Indian children back in the day in the early 1800s, they would hear that and it would sound as if somebody was moaning, okay, like somebody was hurt. And so they would go across the prairie and they would investigate. And when they reached the area where the hole was, sometimes they would fall in and go down 165 feet all the way down to their death. Some people would survive, and that's where you would also see that just you down there. It's like crazy. So yeah, there was many a times being down in that cave doing repair work on the spiral staircase, middle of the night, and man, you'd hear some freaking noises. I'll tell you what, you're like, oh God! And
Yeah.
you going up that spiral staircase back to the top stairs up to the store and going, nope, John, I ain't going back down in there tonight, man. Oh man, I tell you. Yep, you don't mess around with the afterlife, man.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's
this
not
is
something.
the last one of mine right here, and then we'll get to your stories. So this one is of the ghost nanny. A caller from New York State talks of an old home that he and his wife purchased upon moving in. His wife invited her sister and newborn baby to come for a visit. They stayed in the downstairs bedroom, and my wife was sleeping in an upstairs bedroom. Kip explains on Monsters Among Us and says the first night the guest stayed, his wife overheard her sister talking to someone in the middle of the night. The next morning, Kip's wife asked who she'd been talking to, and her sister replied, I woke up in the middle of the night and there was an old lady standing over my baby, and I had to tell her to get away. According to Kip, there were more unexplained incidents in the house, including
Yeah, I'd be scared to death right there.
mysteriously moving lamps and a creepy occurrence with a fire alarm that went off while his wife was outside working in the garden.
Uh-oh.
She
I
immediately
lost you.
runs back into
You
the house,
went
figures
froze.
out. Oh shit.
That's where you turn around and say, "Okay, Mr. Ghost, let's see what you got."
Yeah,
I
according to
just kidding. You
Kip,
can't freaking kill a ghost that way.
she immediately runs back into the house, figures out that it's the smoke alarm in that same downstairs bedroom going off. Kip says on the podcast that when she opened the door, she said for a split second all she could see in the room was this white fog. Within moments, however, the white fog disappeared and the alarm shut off. Convinced the house was haunted, Kip's wife reached out to a neighbor to learn more about the property and discovered, and the previous owner was a 90-year-old woman who tragically died in the house fire. Needless to say, we fixed up the house and got out of there as fast as we could and moved somewhere else, says Kip. So that's crazy on its own.
Oh yeah. Well, speaking like we were talking about Stephen King and horror flicks and stuff, and you remember I know you've seen it, the Poltergeist.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I
now
heard of it.
back in huh?
I heard of it. Yeah.
Well, back in that day, that was a scary movie. It really was
Mm-hmm.
for not only the technology that they had. I mean, look at what we got now. We got AI. We got freaking all this freaking high tech freaking different stuff for special effects and everything. They didn't have all that back then.
Yeah.
But then to have that little girl go through all that stuff and the um, for her to end up dying, um, and the storyline was or the scenario was as far as in the ghosts attached themselves that supposedly were conjured up in the making of this movie, and that she ended up dying from it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, so that's some scary stuff, man. It's like
All
like
right.
what was that movie, Ouija board? Man, and you ain't never gonna get me playing no Ouija board, man. You don't tempt fate like that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No intention of doing anything like that.
Like that. It's just
Um.
like vampires, Dracula, stuff like that. I don't mess with none of that stuff.
So, you
Stuff's
want to go
still
and
too
get to
real for me.
your first story?
Hmm?
You want to get to your first story?
I only got two.
Yeah.
Which one did I already told you two of them?
No, I'm saying yeah,
Now
but we got to
there
retell
was one.
retell both the stories because because the situation of it not recording your voice.
Oh, so you need me to tell them again?
Yeah.
All right. So I'll go, I'll go, I'll go with this one. Uh, Sitting here having family that is passed and everything. I got with my girlfriend. She moved in with me, and I was brushing my teeth one day, and there's been little stuff that has happened in the apartment um, since she's lived with me. And she was like, "Oh, it's nothing. It's just my mama. My mom was just, touching base with me and all that." I'm like, "Okay." It could be my grandma, it could be, my grandpa, it could be, my great grandparent, whatever. Um, and so I'm brushing my teeth and took the cap off the toothpaste thing. And as I went to set it down onto the left side of the bathroom sink, it went and fell. And as it fell off the countertop on my left side, I'm watching this thing start to drop. And as it starts to drop, I'm like, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
So I go back to start and brush my teeth. And I mean, it didn't even hit the ground. This is called like split second stuff. Okay. All of a sudden, the cap ends up on the right side of the sink. Like somebody was behind me, grabbed it, caught it in air, and slung it around the other side of me. And I'm like, I stopped, stopped brushing my teeth when that happened. Because I looked behind me. I was
Oh,
just like, wait a minute. I just watched that thing fall to hit the ground. I didn't hear it hit the ground. I didn't grab it. I had a toothbrush in this hand. I had toothpaste in this hand. I watched the cap fall and it ended up on the right side of me on the sink. Just like that. And I was like, oh, shoot. And I got out of and so I told my girlfriend, and she's like, "Oh, it was probably just my mama helping you out." And I sat there and told her, I said, "All right, well, there's certain rules in this apartment. I'm in the bathroom. I'm there by myself. Nobody's in the restroom with me. No dogs, no cats, no girlfriend, no ghosts in particular.
yeah.
Crazy stuff." Yeah, that one there had. I mean, I was my hair was I talk about it and think about it, and it still puts freaking my hair standing up on end. So, I think I said something to you one time about Gravity Hill back when I was your age. I was probably, I think I was even younger. I think I was like 19. I know I was driving, and this was out in California. I was living out there, and they kept talking about this place called Gravity Hill. And what Gravity Hill was, supposedly this a teenage couple, um, they were driving out in the California hills where literally no towns. It was up in the backwood area, nothing but golden hills is what California is known for. Um, uh, they call it Golden Hills of California because when it's summertime, everything just looks dead. And so everything's all golden in color because it's dried out grass. So, anyway, long story short, they're out there and their car breaks down. And they literally, there was nowhere for miles, no help, no cities, no nothing. And so they stayed around, waited and waited, and just things weren't going. And something happened to the young man, where he broke his leg or something, and was literally they were stuck. And the girl tried to go for help, and ended up something happened, and she ended up coming right back to where he was at, sitting by this big ass oak tree. Excuse me, I didn't mean to cuss. Big old oak tree. So she gets there and they're starving. Okay, he's dying. Okay, and finally their deal was when they were both dying in each other's arms that they were in love. They were happy, And so long story short, they both ended up dying right there. Okay. Um, Later on in life, after they found the vehicle. It got towed off. They buried the kids. The whole 9 yards. Um, the storyline was stated that that particular oak tree had their spirits, and that from that point forward, the weirdest things would occur. Okay, somebody had broke down, had a flat tire or something one day, and this young man came and helped this person change their tire. And when they turned around to say thank you, the person was gone. And then things would happen, and this is where myself I had to see about this. Um, People would go and things would happen, and like they their vehicle would get pushed down the road away from that area.
Yeah.
Hence they call it Gravity Hill. Gravity Hill was like this. Okay, you would come down into an embankment and then go up, and there was a tree, big old oak tree. Um, and so myself and a few friends back when I was younger went there. I had my Camaro, and we go and we stop right there at the oak tree, and you put your vehicle in neutral, and it literally it would go uphill. You're not going up this way, you
Yeah.
go uphill. Gravity Hill. And it was the wildest thing, and that was, the storyline was what happened, that it was the kids that died didn't want anybody else to go through being stuck there in the middle of freaking nowhere in the California hills, so their spirits would help push your vehicle up and out of the way, up the road. I'm sure there's other scientific manners. At least those are some of the things that I always thought. But still, though, that's kind of one of those things that kind of makes your hair stand up on end.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You
There's
can,
got to be something out there,
yeah.
huh?
So that's gonna be the end of the top 3 episode there. That is definitely crazy. I was trying to switch over to the Guru Show. Um, we're gonna try and get more paranormal episodes out here like this. We're working on getting a say I have to go right after this, or when me and him get done, and he has to go do his own stuff for the day. I have to go get the Tiffany Raquel episode recorded for the episode uploaded today for Talk Theory. Paranormal episodes will be uploaded every Friday, or hopefully every Friday if we can get them out. Every other Friday if that, if not, just every Friday that we can get them out, we'll say. I might even do paranormal episodes every Friday, and it might be if we can't have D, then we might have Kai, or we might have Luke, might have Human try to tell a story, or I might just go on there on if I can't get with anyone for a paranormal episode. I've been writing some fictional paranormal stories, and I might just do a fictional story for that paranormal day. So, like I said, it all depends. We'll try to do paranormal episodes on Friday, and my true crime, some type of case file on Thursday, and those are the main schedules for the Todd theory. So, stay fun and submit to Todd.